Cape Chronicle. I'm Mike Renick. Joining me now is Christy Mershon with the Glen House. Nice to see you again, Christy.
I sort of say, I feel like we do this every year this time, right?
Well,
something like that.
Yeah, it's. I think we have to.
I know. The Glen House has become the center of a lot of fun stories.
It absolutely has. So, and we always have to retell those. Those are Cape treasures.
Hey, it's a good time of year to tell those stories.
And you're board president of Glen House, is that correct?
I am. It's a position. I feel like once you get in that position, you almost have to die out. The house grabs you and keeps you.
Is that how it works?
All of us have kind of talked about that over the years.
So, you talked. You kind of just mentioned my first question. I was going to ask, about the home's history. Like, how has that been passed on, over the years?
Sure. So, the house has been a historical house museum really since 1967. They opened the doors for tours in '74. So longer than we've been alive, it has been a house museum here in Cape Girardeau. And so decades of community members have invested. No state or federal money ever went into that property, so it's all community investment. And for many years, people didn't tell ghost stories. They think about when we were kids, older folks, they didn't really believe in those things. So publicly, the ghost stories weren't out there. But inside the organization, people always were sort of uneasy. It was hard to find anyone who would be there alone at night. So a little show called Ghost Hunters came along, sort of changed the landscape of how we talked about things publicly, as well as some other things. And it sort of broke open. You started to see legitimate historical sites like Gettysburg talk about ghosts. And so if they were doing it, we figured we could sort of legitimize the ghost stories that have been out there.
It's starting to be, it's being seeked out now.
It's interesting to me because when we talk about historic preservation, we used to be sort of like narrow in, you had to keep your voice low and everybody had the ropes and things up. But now we talk about access, right? Meeting people where they are and what they're interested in. And in some ways, those ghost stories are just a different way to tell the history, right?
Sure.
It may still be with us, but it's still the same stories of the people and the times. So,
well, what is the history of Glen House and some of those stories?
Well, so the house was built in 1883 by a prominent local architect whose name is featured all over Cape Girardeau, Edwin Branch Dean. It was a dowry gift, so modern terms, a wedding present, when his daughter Lula married a guy by the name of David Glen. And in sort of an unusual thing for that time period, the house ended up deeded to Lula. And then David had some bad business dealings. The house was lost and sold on the courthouse square in a bankruptcy. And so a lot of kind of tragedy followed that family, other families that lived there. And so those sort of tragic stories got woven in to the history and the fiber of the house, kind of stuck with it when it became a house museum.
So what has attracted you to the house?
Oh gosh, well, I have a deep love of history. Frank Nickel, who sat with you, I think, several times in his lifetime, was our regional storyteller. And so it was really sort of the straight history of the house. I didn't believe in the ghost stories for probably the first 10 to 15 years, but the house has a way of not caring whether you believe or not.
Yeah.
So I became a convert because of the Glen House, but that wasn't my point of entry.
So you were trying to keep the wall up of this isn't a thing.
Yeah.
But since your experience with the Glen House,
yes,
you're a little more open to it.
All of us who volunteer there, sometimes your explanations for a strange thing that happened get more complex than just saying there may be things we don't know or understand, or maybe we're not alone in the house. When you start trying to figure out a train went by and a boat went by at the same time, and that made a door slam, and maybe there was a wind, and your explanations are just more bizarre than saying, hey, maybe there was someone else in the house with me that I just couldn't see, or we don't understand what's going on here yet.
And that could be the case.
So, yeah. We have a mutual friend who works in radio here in town, Darren, and I actually just took him some stuff. I got the snot beans scared out of me. I had a radio on, Bluetooth the other day, and it turned itself off and then proceeded to say a word, and I can't figure out how it happened. So I've given Darren the information about the speaker, and I'm trying to get explanations for how does this happen. Again, I'm looking for the rational explanation, but please, please tell me someone hacked into my speaker and that I didn't hear what I think I hear.
I know
through there.
nothing about that.
Yeah,
I
so,
don't know. I don't know.
So those sorts of strange things. We have a little video clip of that I accidentally caught. I freaked out and was trying to take a picture of the speaker and instead caught about 10 seconds of video, which was just enough to have an audio clip. So sometimes even those of us who are trying to be logical have to reach out to friends and say, hey,
help us with
yeah,
this.
you guys who are into all this equipment, like, tell me, how does this happen?
So is the house accessible on a regular basis for tours, or how does that work?
It is. It is open every weekend from 1 to 4. Currently, we have an exhibit of Victorian morning wear that's in there. So it's traditionally spooky. There's an arsenic dress and some other things. We also have a number of night events on Monday the 13th, because what's scarier than a Friday the 13th but a Monday?
A Monday.
Monday
Yeah.
the 13th of
Manic
October.
Monday.
Yes, we're going to do ghost tours that night. We have a Spookeasy event October 17th. The house is open for trick-or-treaters on Halloween night from 5 to 7. And we have a Halloween event with pets. You can bring your dogs, cats, whatever you'd like for photographs on the 26th. So a lot of cool stuff going on. Check out our social media pages, and I hope that we see lots of folks because it's a good time to visit.
Is this kind of the time that you see people, or is it year-round people will visit?
It's year-round. You know, we talk about this at Halloween because now the ghost stories are taking up a lot of sort of
Sure.
space, but we also do a huge Victorian Christmas, and that's been a tradition in this community for over 50 years. And we'll have lots of Christmas caroling, traditional sort of family-friendly events, and all the things at the Glen House, for the most part, are very family-friendly. You know, we try to engage children. That's why we're doing the trick-or-treating. We want to get as many folks as we can able to see and experience what it's like to go through that window back into time.
We've got about 30 seconds. So what is one thing you hear people say the most that they take away from the house that they comment on?
You know, I think it's just such a beautiful house, but more than anything, that it has charisma. If a house could have a personality, when you walk in the Glen House, there is the feeling of walking into someone's home. It's not a museum, hands off. You've come into their space.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Christy, we thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm always
Enjoy the
glad to
month.
see you. See you next year.
All righty. Sounds good.